You know how when you bake a cake, you can't just eyeball the ingredients? You need the right measurements. Too much flour and you've got a brick, too much sugar and it's like cavity city. Well, retirement kind of works in the same way. If you don't know your key numbers, you're either coming up short or you're risking a meltdown. So today, let's talk about the most important numbers in retirement and why they matter way more than you think. But before we jump in, hi, my name is Kurt. I'm a certified financial planner, and on this channel, I help people align their money and their meaning. Let's dive in. Let's start with the biggest and probably most obvious one. This is your income gap. So this is the difference between what you need to live on each month and what you're getting from guaranteed sources. So Social Security, pensions, rental income, stuff like that. Think of this like filling a bathtub. If Social Security is the faucet and your living expenses are the drain that goes down, your investments or your portfolio, that's the bucket that you need to use to keep the bathtub full. And if you don't know how big that gap is, you won't know how big of a bucket that you'll actually need to carry. And spoiler alert, the bucket gets heavier the longer you live, which brings me to my second number, how long you're planning to live. I know it can sound a little bit morbid. It's never a ton of fun to talk about, but it's actually about optimism if you think about it, because most people underestimate their longevity. You might think that you're only planning a 20-year retirement, but if you're healthy and in your 60s, you could very easily live into your 90s. So that's 3 decades of paychecks that you've got to create out of your portfolio. So only planning for 20 is like planning a cross-country trip, but only bringing snacks. Next, let's talk about withdrawal rate, or AKA how much money you're pulling from your portfolio each year. This is one of the most important numbers in retirement. Now, the old school 4% rule, that's a pretty decent starting point, but it's not one size fits all. So if markets dip or if inflation spikes and you're pulling out 4% without a plan, you could run out of money faster than a kid in an arcade. Your withdrawal rate needs to be dynamic based on your age, portfolio, and spending habits. Speaking of which, don't forget the next number, which is your RMD age. That's required minimum distributions for the non-nerds out there. Right now, the IRS says you've got to start taking money out of your pre-tax accounts like IRAs and 401ks at age 73. If you were born in 65 or later, yours will actually start at age 75. But they're not really asking nicely, because if you don't, they hit you with huge tax penalties that'll hit you harder than Mike Tyson. So knowing when you're forced to take money and how much is a key to avoiding tax headaches later, which leads us to our next number, which is your tax bracket. Yes, taxes don't retire just because you do. The more you withdraw from tax-deferred accounts, the more you might bump into higher income tax brackets. And this is especially tricky when you combine RMDs, Social Security, investment income, pension income. So planning around your tax bracket and maybe using Roth conversions or tapping taxable accounts first can really save you tens of thousands of dollars over your retirement. The last, but certainly not least, your healthcare number. A 65-year-old couple retiring today may need as much as $300,000 for healthcare costs alone in their retirement. And yes, you heard that right, 300 grand. That's a whole separate line item. And if you don't plan for it, it can blow up your budget faster than your cousin Chad at an open bar wedding. So let's wrap it up. If retirement feels like financial fog, these numbers are your GPS, your income gap, your lifespan estimate, your withdrawal rate, your RMD age, your tax bracket, and your healthcare costs. You do not need to be a financial wizard to retire confidently. You do need to know your numbers and then build a plan around them. If you want to learn more about aligning your money and your meaning, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to help the channel grow, leave in the comments any numbers you think I left out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.